I can't believe I have to do a second video today, but this is hot off the presses and it's crazy. This just dropped like just before lunchtime. And, we just had a lawsuit on Tuesday and now we get another lawsuit. It's Thursday. And this one is surprising because PSA has done something here that's very rare. I've only seen them do this one time. They have responded publicly. They responded to me publicly one time when I called out the Wilt Chamberlain grade, and they actually posted from the PSA account on Instagram, clarifying what happened with that change and the crossover and all that. So they had to respond here. So this is Darren Ravel, which many of you know is he's part of Collect, and Collect reports on news in the hobby, right? It's like trying to be a hobby media company. And he's sort of the head of this thing. So he's always sharing stuff. And he's got he's a real reporter. He's got a background from ESPN and so on. He says, super collector Steve Littman has filed a massive lawsuit in California against PSA, alleging bad faith, unfair treatment, and fraudulent business practices. If you guys don't know who that is, watch King of Collectibles, the show by Ken Golden. He is the guy with the Honus Wagner. I think it was like an SGC 5 that Ken kind of showed up with, like, I don't know what it was, $5 million in cash or $2 million in cash and like uncirculated $100 bills or something like that. So that, you can watch that and you can learn a bit about him. Darren goes on to say that Littman says some of his high-end cards from grading company PSA parent company who bought SGC have failed to cross over his cards to the same grades in order to benefit individuals, including President Nat Turner, who also holds some of those cards. That is a bold statement. I certainly hope that's not true, but that's apparently what's in the lawsuit. Littman alleges that his 52 Topps mantle and an SGC 9 is unquestionably a PSA 9, yet PSA is only willing to give the card an 8, costing him millions. The difference between an 8 and a 9 is obviously significant. What's a 9 going for nowadays? 5, 10 million? It's crazy. It was like 1.8 like not too long ago. He says his 52 Bowman mantle in SGC 10 is definitely a PSA 10. PSA also refused that crossover. That is interesting, right? Like you think about this, the executives at PSA, especially Nat, he's got very high-end cards. Like I said before in my previous video about the previous lawsuit, I would love for PSA to open up and just show us how blind this is. The grades that they're applying to this guy's cards and the grades they're applying to Nat's cards, like, are they truly blind? What does that process look like? How different is it for a $5 million card versus a $5 card? We would love to see all that. It would clarify a lot of this, I think. Littman says PSA has a responsibility to change grades of cards that have been overgraded in the past, but alleges they don't want to do so because it will cost them millions. PSA guarantees that if a grade changes, they must make up the difference in market value. That is true. Their label has changed. People swear their standards have changed. Nat says they have not. But if they admitted, then they would have to spend a significant amount of money, which is interesting. So Littman's lawsuit for the first time shows 4 of the 6 1952 Mantle 9s that PSA graded, trying to show the difference between them. It's going to be hard from this photo, guys. I'm not standing in front of the card, but these are old label 9s. If you're driving, that bottom right one, I don't know about the centering on that bottom right one. It's a little heavy on the right, and the rest look pretty damn good to me. But I mean, I don't know. They look okay. Honestly, the bottom 2, the centering, I don't know. This is the whole thing with grading. It's like, it's just some human looking at this and just like, it's a Tuesday. I'm in a good mood. I'm one of the senior guys. It's been here forever. This is how I feel about the card. That's what we have resigned ourselves to. And they just decide, whether it's this card or, I don't know, whatever. This is one of my favorite cards, by the way. The 97 metal Kobe. But, whatever. They just decide. Littman also contends when a consumer pays for 60-day service and doesn't get a 60-day service, PSA owes them money back. PSA says timing is approximate. They sure do. It sure is approximate. Like my order that I submitted on January 2nd that I believe has a June 3rd date and has been in assembly for the entire summer. It still is. It sure is approximate. I don't know about the refund there. It would be nice if they did. Like, didn't Domino's have that like free pizza in 30 minutes or less? Like, if it's egregious, like if they double the time, you should grade for free, or grading should be half off. That would make me feel really good about PSA, and like it might even motivate them to fix the intake process. But here we go. This is the boldest statement I've ever seen PSA make. The language in here is interesting. PSA has strongly responded to the suit. PSA statement. PSA's long-standing policy is not to comment on pending litigation. PSA is making a limited exception because this lawsuit can damage the hobby if left unchallenged. PSA will never compromise our grading independence. Undeserved grades cannot be bought or compelled. Steve's allegations are without merit, and PSA will defend against them vigorously because they threaten to undermine the hobby itself. This is a case about a single collector who is unhappy that PSA experts would not assign his cards the grades he requested. When PSA's graders reached independent professional opinions he did not like, Mr. Lichtman demanded different results, threatened litigation, and has now sued. PSA evaluated the submissions exactly as agreed, under the same published standards and process applied to every collector and every item. Pausing there for a second. Show us. Show us the process. What process? Use a dummy card. This is what you did for Steve's card. Show us a dummy card. This is what you do for Nat's card. This is what you do for Ryan's card. This is what you do for Nick Andrews' card. Show us the process. We'll all feel more comfortable. A grade is an expert opinion. Back to being quoted here. I just want to be careful. A grade is an expert opinion. It is an opinion, for sure. Its value to the hobby rests on the fact that specific grades cannot be bought, pressured, or litigated into existence. That is an interesting sentence. It's they've used the word, you can't litigate grades a couple times now. It's like, I get it. A grade obtained only by threatening a lawsuit would be worthless to the market and to millions of collectors who trust PSA to treat every submission the same, whether it comes from a first-time hobbyist or a seasoned collector submitting a rare and sought-after item. I got to be really careful here. Question's a strong word. I'm going to be careful there too. I will say this in the safest way possible. I would love to know how a collector that submits multiple $5 to $10 million cards a year gets treated, what type of communications they have, and what their process looks like, versus, I don't know, a high-end bulk submitter, versus me, versus GameStop. Like, they need a little map on their website and some footage like CGC did. You got to show us this stuff because, like, I don't know what happened here. I'm not part of this. I'm just going on what Darren's saying. But, like, of course, if you could just demand a grade and they give you a grade, that's not good for the market. If you challenge an autograph and they immediately accept, that's not good for the market. However, as a company, they should take new information into account, like new forgeries in the autograph world, new information about a particular autograph style, a video of a player signing it when they maybe once refused it. And they've gotten okay with that here. And I guess with card grades, it's like when it reaches this level, it's like over $5 million, you need like a jury. Like you need, I don't even think it can be two graders. Like over a certain threshold, and you can pay for this. You can pay for this service. I mean, you pay enough, right? You got your grader 1 and you've got your grader 2. And then they make their pitch in front of a committee of PSA graders. Maybe there's one hobbyist who's like under NDA, an old school guy like Mike Baker, somebody like that. And they just give their opinion, and then it's a vote. It's a vote between like a 9 and a 10. They're gonna have to evolve because like they're just gonna get more pissed off whales, and this process that I'm suggesting could possibly have prevented this. I think, maybe not, but like if we commit crimes, we go to a jury of our peers. We don't go to like one person on a Tuesday and ask them if I'm guilty or not. and then maybe there's an appeal to Jim on a Thursday. It's a jury that deliberates and decides and thinks. They're spending 30 seconds to 60 seconds on some of these low-end cards. I don't know how much time they spend on high-end cards. I'm going to ask. I have a couple contacts. I'm going to ask. I hope it's more than a minute. If it's a $5 to $10 million decision, they should be spending an hour talking about this. I'm sorry. I mean, how much are you paying for a $5 million card to get graded? Like, what's the upcharge on that thing? It's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in some cases. That's okay for an hour. You can get an hour of time, I think. Just some suggestions to them. If I was there, like if I was consulting for them, this is some changes I would make. I'll continue this one last paragraph. PSA is the most trusted name in authentication and grading with more than 100 million cards and collectibles certified. We stand behind our graders, our standards, and our guarantee, and we will not assign undeserved grades merely because someone demands a different result. Good. Now show us your graders, show us your standards, show us your process, and I will believe everything you say. Until that kimono is opened, there's going to be great uncertainty in the hobby about things like this. And I can only imagine if this goes to discovery, I mean, that's tough because they're going to tell them to not dispose of, the formal term is, preserve evidence like emails and texts and things like that. I don't know what's going to happen. My guess is this gets settled and they're just like, hopefully these guys just get a beer and just chill out. Or maybe it gets settled in a way where, all right, we're going to regrade it one more time with a jury. And maybe I don't know, just in this particular case, they let Steve watch and listen to what they say, because I don't know. I heard other stuff last night. He's a big autograph guy, and I'm not going to name the card because it'll identify him, but the card... It's 3 cards, all right? 3 cards of the same type. He gets signed all the time. One was an SGC 8, and it was 2 PSA 9s. Cracked all 3. All 3 didn't meet size requirements. Or, no, sorry, it was altered. Comeback altered. And they took care of it, but then it's like you had to pay for this new level, for this new look at the card, and they didn't even get the grader's notes in this instance. They're just kind of a mess. It's almost like a little startup that just started like 5 years ago trying to figure this out. I mean, this scaling, I get it, but they're going to have to do better in these cases. So I'll look at some of these comments. So Darren says, disclosure, Littman is an investor in Collect. I know Patrick Ryan is too. I know Darren obviously is part of it. Some of the other guys. PSA is a Collect client, which is very interesting. That's the great thing about Darren is he just seeks the truth and he's in the middle. I mean, these comments, I immediately don't mess with the Littmans. They're even asking if this is Jeffrey Littman or Steve. Nerd alert. I mean, Twitter's it's just a godforsaken place. I was on here in 2008 for like a month. And then I was on here from 2018 to 2020. And I was like, peace. I think I gave it up for Lent 1 year. And I was like, I'm done. I just came back in the spring and it's just garbage. It would be a lot more fun app if before tweeting, everybody was required to either show their mother, grandmother, wife, or kids what they're about to tweet. That would make for a more interesting place because some people don't realize how public the stuff they're saying can be. God forbid, like somebody looks at what you're tweeting, some of this stuff. But we'll see. I got a couple other thoughts. First off, you guys want to see my impulse purchase today? Look at this guy behind me. Look at this. I went on eBay. I got a $20 lightsaber that lights up. I'm going to zip tie the thing to him. Replace this lightsaber. I'm going to turn it on for video. It's going to look sick, especially if I turn off the lights and stuff. So, whatever. The rule was my wife said anything's okay as long as it stays in my office. So I have crammed this office. I had to move some things around. I got something that might be available. It's a signed Mike Tyson punch out, like framed with a thing from the game. But my son might put it in the attic. We'll see. Another final thought on PSA. This is something that bothers me. And I'm going to credit Ziggy, for bringing this to my attention. even though he won't get on here on a live, I will communicate this. So I agree with him. I've said that card ladder is inaccurate, but that's not the issue. When PSA chooses to upcharge you, they use card ladder. I've seen that done to me personally. I don't know if they do that all the time. And I don't know how successful our people are in terms of challenging and appealing, but how do you guys feel knowing that PSA or collectors owns card ladder and then they use card ladder for their determination on upcharges? In my opinion, it should be either a third party. There are plenty of appraisers. This guy, Michael, oh God, I'm slipping on his last name. It's like something in the attic, and he insures cards, and he'll come appraise your collection for insurance. Oh, Michael Osaki, that's it. He's a good dude. Check him out if you need something like appraised or whatever. He can do that for insurance, but whatever. Maybe somebody like Michael just like comes in and he's like, that's what I think it's worth too. Or you take an average of like eBay sold, which PSA doesn't own, but they are most certainly aligned with eBay. So it's like eBay sold, market movers, card ladder, and like critical thinking. So like maybe an expert that, we'll call this expert a rogue, that his job is to just kind of be in the forums. Like he's a social media guy, PSA. He's like in the forum, Facebook groups, Instagram, Twitter for sure, 'cause stuff gets buys and sold. And they get like the right-brained price. Like they look at all the pricing and they figure out like, okay, here's my price idea. Then you've got that guy, you got market movers, you got card ladder, you got eBay sold, and you have an appraiser on an appeal. I start to feel much better because there's a conflict there. If they own the company and they're a private company, it's like, how good is the data? You don't know. And that's the data they're using. It's like, if you have better data, then you should share it with them. So I don't know. I thought that was it's something that's bugging me too. A lot is bugging me. And I don't expect this to be the last lawsuit either, which, is pretty wild. But PSA's kind of done this to themselves. They've grown really fast. They've gotten a little sloppy at some things. And they unfortunately handle extremely expensive things. Very prized possessions of people that people are passionate about, that the difference between, a 9.1 and a 9.6, like rounding up to that 10, is millions and millions of dollars. And so they force themselves into this hole where they are, by the nature of applying a bell curve, going to piss off people on that bell curve. And people that submit cards of 5 to 10 or whatever $1 million, when they get pissed off, they don't just like go play video games. Like, they litigate. And so we'll see what happens, guys. Thanks, everyone.